Hello everybody, this is Justina with JustynaTHandMade. In today's video, I'm going to show you how this rose convertible backpack tote bag comes together. I'm creating this tutorial on a request of my friend, but I hope other people will also enjoy it and find it helpful. There is already existing video tutorial for the pattern made by Jess at Okla Roots. I will also link it in the description below because her video walks you through exactly how the pattern is written. I made a couple changes to give you some options. So the front is exactly how it is written in the pattern. In the back, I decided to just make a smaller panel on the bottom with vinyl because I like to have something that I can wipe on the bottom. But the top of the back panel is made out of waterproof canvas, and really you could use any woven fabric to do it. I would just interface it to give it a little structure. And by using the zipper overlay, you're gonna be able to add the zipper pocket to any kind of fabric. You don't have to use non-fraying fabric. You can use anything that you would like to create the bag with. To show you the features of the bag, so we're gonna start in the front. You have the zipper pocket here, so you can have your phone on or your wallet, your keys secure. Here also you have another pocket that is just a slip pocket for quick access. Like I show you on the back, you have another zipper pocket that you can when you're carrying the bag on your back as a backpack, all your items will stay secure against your bag. Inside, the bag has a magnetic snap closure, and inside we have 3 slip pockets. You can customize the size of the pockets to whatever your preferences are. And like I said, this bag can be used as a backpack. So this is how it looks like when it's a backpack, but you can also use it as a tote bag. You just have to pull the handle out, use the sliding adjusters as a stop. You can make the handle a little shorter if you like, but here you have this bag as a tote bag, so it doesn't have to be a backpack all the time. Like I said, this is one of my patterns that already have been released previously, but I'm gonna be offering a discount for my Facebook group members for this pattern for a limited time from the day of the premiere of this video. So if you want to get this pattern as a discount, just join my Facebook group and you will have access to the discount code. Also, I would love to see your creations, so if you are on Facebook, please make sure to post it in my group. If you prefer Instagram, just tag me in your post on Instagram. The links are in the description box below. The full list of the supplies needed is posted on Etsy, so you can just review it before you purchase the pattern, and any additional details are there. Obviously, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help, so please just leave a comment in the comment section. If you are a returning viewers of my videos, thank you so much for spending some time with me again. If this is the first time you came across my video, please consider subscribing. And if at any point you enjoyed this tutorial or you find it helpful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And now, if you want to see how I put this version of the rose convertible backpack tote bag, please keep watching. To start our project, I'm just gonna run through all the pattern pieces real quick, and like I show you on the finished back itself, it's a little bit different than the back in the pattern. I'm gonna have 2 vinyl bottom pieces, and I'm gonna have the rest of the outer bag made out of waterproof canvas. This is the difference with the written pattern itself, so you can all follow the pattern when it comes to the construction of the back panel, or you can do what I'm doing in the video, and then you're gonna have a little bit different result. So that said, we have two vinyl outer bottom panels. I have my middle. This is all my waterproof canvas pieces. So I have the main back panel that is cut to the same height of as the small side panel of the front, and the width, the same width of the bottom panel. So that's the measurements you need to create this panel. And then when it comes to the front, I have my middle panel for my front and two side panels. This is my outer back zipper pocket with my zipper overlay. Here I have my elements for my front zipper and slip pocket. So I have my bottom accent, I have my top accent panel, and I have my three lining panels that are all a little bit different in size. So you want to have three panels that are the same width, but each of them is about half an inch larger than the first one. Then I have my two zippers. The zipper is cut a little longer than in the cut list. I just want to show you that if you cut your zipper a little longer, it's way easier to insert your zipper pull onto your project after the zipper is attached to your panels, and then you can trim it, and it gives you a better result, because as you're sewing, the zipper tape is nice and straight. You don't have your zipper pull on your zipper coils, so you don't have this bump in the zipper tape while you're sewing your zipper onto your panels. So this zipper is for the back pocket, this zipper is for the front zipper pocket. You have your two main lining panels that I interfaced with sew fuse. If you're using something stiffer, you don't have to worry about interfacing. If you're using a lighter lining fabric like I did, it's just a quilting cotton, you can interface it if that's something you like. I have my inside slip pocket. I also interface it, but with the non-woven interfacing, medium weight, to just give it a little more structure. And this is my bottom interfacing for the bottom of my back. When it comes to hardware, we're gonna need zipper pulls. So two zipper pulls, two sliding adjusters, two D-rings, two swivel clasp. I have my back tack. I have the grommets that's gonna go on the top of the project. You will need some rivets and magnetic snap. Also, this is optional. If you are opting into add the purse feet, you would need purse feet as well. The last thing to prep is our D-ring tabs and our straps. So you will just cut your webbing tape to size, and I have my little handle panel cut out of vinyl as well. Now that we have all our pattern pieces prepped, we're gonna start construction of our back with the front pocket. So you're gonna take the front pocket panels and the larger zipper, starting with the largest accent panel and the smallest lining panel. We're gonna create our zipper sandwich. So you're gonna take your zipper tape, and a note to anybody who is uncomfortable with working with the zipper tape without the zipper on, just put your zipper pull on from the right to the left. You want the zipper pull to be on the left when the zipper is closed. Now that we have our accent pocket panel, the smallest lining for our front pocket and the zipper, we're gonna start assembly. You're gonna place your accent panel right side up, place the zipper wrong side up, so the zipper coils are underneath, and you can clip that in place. Then you're gonna take your lining panel and place it right sides together, and now you're gonna clip all three pieces together. When you have your unit prepped like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along this edge to attach the zipper. Make sure to backstitch well on the beginning and on the end of the seam. Now that your seam is completed, you're gonna flip your lining over, finger press the vinyl panel, and when you have your unit prepped like this, you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the seam with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that our panel is top stitched, you're gonna take the small accent panel and the lining panel that is still smaller than the last one, and you're gonna place the accent panel. If you have a fabric that carries a pattern, you can just make sure you are aligning the pattern as close as possible. So take your accent panel and place it right side down along the edge of the zipper tape. Take the lining panel, place it on the table right side up, and align the top edge of the unit with the top edge of the lining. And when you have your unit prepped like this, take it to the machine and sew along this edge, making sure you are backstitching on the beginning and on the end of the seam. When you have the upper panel sewn in, you're gonna keep the other lining panel lying flat behind your unit. You're gonna fold the upper panel on the line of the seam and finger press it. And then you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the seam with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch line. Now that the upper panel is top stitched, we're gonna take our last front pocket lining panel. You're gonna place the lining panel right sides together and align it with the top edge of our unit and clip together. When you have that done, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along this edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and making sure you are backstitching on the beginning and on the end of the seam. When you have the lining panel attached, you're gonna now flip it over and you're gonna bring the bottom edge of the lining to the bottom edge of the overall panel, and you can secure that with clips. And then you're gonna fold the upper panel, making sure the lining is lying nice and flat. And secure the fold with clips. You should have about 1 inch of fold over on the back of your pocket. That's exactly what you want to have. And when you have that ready, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the folded edge with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that the top part is stitched, we're gonna attach our male part of our magnetic snap to the back of the pocket. So you want to take your unit, you want to find the center, and you're gonna measure about 1/2 inch from the top and make a mark. That's where your snap should be installed. Take your washer, mark the slits and cut them out, making sure you are only cutting through the folded part of the top panel. Don't cut through the front part. Insert your snap. I'm using a smaller 14mm snaps. You can use 18mm snaps, it will fit. You can use some extra interfacing if your fabric is not strong. I think with my vinyl I'm gonna be fine, so I'm just gonna put my washer and fold the prongs. All right, so now my snap is installed. I'm gonna make sure that my panel is nice and straight, everything aligns nicely. And now it's the time when we're gonna insert our zipper pull, because we're gonna baste all three sides. So we wanna make sure that before we do that, we're gonna insert the zipper pull on. On the front of my bag, I'm gonna use this beautiful rose zipper pull from Mormino, from Lauren Moreno. I think it's gonna look really nice with my flowery vinyl. You want to bring the zipper pull about halfway in, and again you want to make sure our edges are nicely aligned, and you can now trim your zipper tape. Clip all the sides together. Take it to the machine and base along those three edges. Now that your front pocket is prepped, you're gonna take the middle outer front panel and you're gonna align the pocket, bottom edge and the sides with the panel. You're gonna take the side panels and you're gonna place each of them on each side of your pocket. You want to make sure that they are right sides together. So you have the middle panel right side up, your pocket is right side up, and your side panel is right side down. And when you have your unit prepped like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along the two sides with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure to backstitch on the beginning and on the end of each seam. When you have the side panels sewn in, now you're gonna open them and finger press the seams. So you wanted the seam allowance to lie behind the panel. Do the same on the other side. And when you have both seam finger pressed and open, you're gonna take your project to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along those two seams on the waterproof canvas side with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that your side panels are sewn in, we're gonna attach our bottom panel. So take one of the vinyl bottom panels and place it right sides together with your unit and clip around the bottom edge. When you have that done, take it to the machine and sew along this edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Now that the bottom panel is attached to your unit, you're gonna flip it down, finger press it, and take it back to the machine and top stitch along the seam with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that the base is top stitched, we're gonna now install the other part of the magnetic snap. So you want to take your project and you want to figure out the placement of the other part of the magnetic snap based on the already attached side. So you just want to press it on your fabric. After you have it marked, you're gonna take the washer, again mark the slits, and cut the fabric. And because this is just a one layer of waterproof canvas, I'm gonna add some scrap of interfacing. You can basically use any scrap you have. Place your magnetic snap through your fabric. When that's installed, you can now also install your back tack if that's something you're gonna do. You can install it anywhere. You can install it above the pocket. I'm gonna install mine about 1/2 inch above my pocket in the center. Now the last thing we need to prep on our front panel is our side D-rings. So you're gonna take your webbing tape, cut to size, and your two D-rings, thread them over. And when you have them prepped like this, you're gonna attach them on each side 1/2 inch below the seam of the bottom panel. You want to make sure that there's about 1/2 inch overhang of the webbing tape over the edge of the panel. And when you have that prepped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna baste those D-ring tops onto your front panel. Our front panel is now prepped. Now we can move on to work on our back of the back panel. So first I'm gonna connect my bottom and my top panels of the back outer of my back. So you're gonna take the upper panel and you're gonna take your vinyl bottom panel and you're gonna place both right sides together along the bottom edge and clip. When you have that prepped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along this edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length and back stitch on the beginning and on the end of the seam. Now that the panels are sewn together, you're gonna flip the bottom panel over and you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the seam on the vinyl side with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that my panel is whole, and if you are putting this back together according to the pattern, when you have this whole piece cut out as a one piece, this is what you end up with. If you are following my instructions in the video and you created the upper panel from two panels, just make sure now your back panel and your front panel are the same sizes. So mine looks perfect. So I know that my back panel, my outer back panel is good to go. Now I'm gonna work on the zipper opening. So I'm gonna take my zipper opening overlay. If you are following the instructions in the pattern itself and you are using vinyl for the outer back panel, you don't have to do the overlay. You can if you want to add a little more embellishment to the packet, but if you are using waterproof canvas or woven fabric, you need to use the overlay. So I'm going to show you how to utilize the vinyl overlay to create the back packet. So first you want to prep your overlay with the double-sided tape. You're going to put some double-sided tape on the back side of the vinyl panel. You're gonna find the center of the panel and the center of your overlay. Measure about 3 inches from the top of your panel. And center the overlay on the back panel. If you are happy with the initial placement of the overlay, now continue securing the overlay on the other 3 sides. When you have your back panel prepped like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the outer edge of the zipper overlay all around with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that the overlay is sewn in around the outer edge, we're gonna cut out the fabric of the main panel. So take your shears, make a snip in the middle, making sure you are cutting only through the outer panel, and start cutting it out. You want to make sure you are cutting a bigger opening in the main fabric than the opening of the overlay. So now the opening is prepped. We're gonna move on to putting together our zipper lining packet. So you're gonna take the lining, cut to size for the back zipper pocket, and the zipper tape, and you're gonna place the zipper tape. You're gonna place the lining right side up, and you're gonna place the zipper tape coil side up as well and attach to the short edge. Then you're gonna flip your unit and again attach the other exposed zipper edge to the other short edge of the lining. And when you have the unit prepped like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along the edge, catching only one edge of the lining and the zipper. Then you're gonna flip the unit over, making sure your lining is pulled away and you are sewing only through one lining panel and the zipper tape. You're gonna attach the other side of the zipper tape to the lining. You're gonna be sewing with 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure to backstitch on the beginning and on the end of each seam. Now that you have the zipper tape attached, you're gonna insert your zipper pull onto your zipper. And now you can choose how you want your zipper to function. This is a pocket on the back of my bag, so I want the zipper to close when I pull the zipper pull to the right. So I'm gonna make sure my lining is flat on the back, and now the zipper is lying flat. And now I'm gonna cut my lining in two. When you have the pocket now prepped and separated, you just want to make sure you are keeping it in the correct direction. So the longer panel is your upper or back panel of the pocket. You're gonna place some double-sided tape along the edges of the zipper tape. If your lining is a little stiffer than mine is just woven cotton, so I can just press it with my fingers. But if your lining doesn't want to stay nice and flat on the right side of the project, just take it to the ironing board and give it a press. When you have your zipper pocket prepped like this and positioned in the correct direction, so the bigger panel is on top, you're gonna now place it inside your zipper opening. Remove backing of one of the double-sided tape strips and center the zipper inside the opening. When you're happy with the placement and you have equal overhang on both sides, remove the backing of the other double-sided tape strip and secure that. When you have your panel prepped like this, you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the zipper opening with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Make sure that the lining stays nice and open on the back of your project. Now that my zipper pocket is attached, I'm gonna place both lining panels together. And I'm gonna clip the sides. I'm gonna fold the bottom by about 1/2 inch and clip it. And when I have my lining prepped like this, I'm gonna take it back to the machine and I'm gonna sew the sides of the lining with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, making sure I'm not sewing on the outer panel. So you wanna place your panel right side out on the machine, fold the side and sew it, and repeat that on the other side. So you want to make sure that the outer panel is out of the way of the seam. Now my pocket is prepped. The prep of the back is completed. Our next step is to prep our bottom seam. You want to take both outer panels and you want to clip them together, making sure that you are paying attention to where the side panels are. So you want to match the side panels and clip. When you have that clipped, you're gonna place them down on the table and clip along the bottom edge. The purpose of matching the side is that we want to make sure that when we sew our sides, we're gonna have a nice straight, nice continuous look. If you would have tiny little differences in the bottom panels and they are within seam allowances, we are good. We just want to make sure that the most important thing is to match the sides of the panel. So when we sew the side seam of the project, we're gonna have a nice matching bottom panel all around our back. So now that we have this prepped, we're gonna take it to the machine and we're gonna sew along the bottom edge only with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Now that the bottom seam is completed, we're gonna open our project. We're gonna butterfly the bottom seam, so you want to make sure that the seam allowances of the corresponding panels are laying behind each of them. And when you have that prepped, you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch on each side of the seam with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure you are forcing the seam allowances to lie nice and flat behind each panel. Now that my bottom seam is pressed and it's top stitch and nicely open, I'm gonna work on attaching my purse feet. So you want to find the center of your bottom seam. Then you're gonna take a ruler and mark 3 inches on each side and an inch on that mark. Now that I have my marks done, I'm gonna make holes, punch holes for my purse feet. I'm gonna make a hole on the side and in the middle, and because I don't want to cut the stitching in the middle seam, I'm gonna make a hole on the seam allowance towards the back panel. Now that I have my holes made, I'm gonna take my base. This is a piece of Pellon fuse and shape. I'm not gonna fuse it because I'm using vinyl. I'm just gonna use my purse feet to attach it to my base, but I wanna mark the placement of my holes in my base. Now I'm gonna attach my screws. My purse feet are now attached. My Peldex is now secure on the bottom. I'm gonna now work on the side seams. So you wanna place the panels right sides together, aligning the bottom panel seams first. And clip along both sides. When you have your unit prepped like this, take it to the machine and sew along both side edges with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch. Now that I have my sides sewn, I'm gonna box my corners. You wanna take a ruler and measuring from the bottom edge, because that's where the seam line is, and from the seam allowance just mark 1 inch squares. Cut them out. And box the corners. So you want to make sure that the seams align. When you have both prepped like this, take it back to the machine and sew along those two box corners, making sure you are backstitching well on the beginning and on the end of the seam. You can run a row of seam on the vinyl just to make sure that the stitching won't show after you turn your project right side out. Now that both of your corners are boxed, you can trim the seam allowances a little bit. And now we can turn our outer right side out. And now you can kind of have a preview of how your bag gonna look like. I think it's coming out pretty cute. And you inspect everything, make sure everything looks nice and up to your satisfaction. And now we're gonna move on to putting our lining together. So first we're gonna create our slip pocket. So you're gonna take your panel for the slip pocket and place, fold it in half, right sides together, and clip. To make sure that you folded the pocket the correct side, you're gonna take your lining panel and making sure that it's taller than wider. You're just gonna compare it. It should be the same width as your main lining panel. If that's correct, you're gonna take this to the machine and you're gonna sew along this raw edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch mark. Now that the seam is completed, you're gonna turn the panel right side out. You can take it to the ironing board and you can iron it. And when you have that done, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the seam. That's gonna be the top of our pocket. I feel like the actual seam have a little more strength to be the top of the pocket, so it's not gonna stretch when we are using our pockets. When you have the pocket panel top stitch, take one of the lining panels and place the pocket about 4 inches from the bottom edge of the panel. So you want to make sure that the top stitch part of the pocket is on the top, and the pocket is about 4 inches from the bottom of your lining panel. When you have that prepped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna baste the sides and top stitch along the bottom fold with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Unfortunately, some of the videos recorded during my session got corrupted, so I will have to support myself with some pictures to walk you through the final step of the lining construction. After your pocket is sewn into one of your lining panels, you're gonna divide it in 3 and sew a dividing seams starting from the bottom going to the top. You can divide the pocket into 3 equal pockets or whatever your preferences is. When the pocket dividers are completed, you're gonna place both lining panels right sides together, marking an opening in the bottom for a turning hole. When you have your lining pinned together, take it to the machine and sew along the sides on the bottom, leaving the turning opening unsewn with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. You can slightly increase the seam allowance to make sure your lining is nice and snug inside of your bag. After the sides and the bottom of your lining are sewn, we're gonna box the corners. You're gonna repeat what was done on the front panels. So you're gonna mark 1-inch squares on each corner, cut them out, open and pin together, matching the bottom and the side seams, and sew along the openings with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length, making sure you're backstitching well on the beginning and on the end of each seam. Now that our corners are boxed, we're gonna put the lining and the outer together. So I like to put my outer inside of my lining, and because my outer is longer, I'm gonna fold the base. And now you want to pay attention to where's your front and your back. I want my slip pockets to be on the back, so I'm going to make sure that my back of the bag is facing the pockets. So now you can start putting the lining and the outer together. Starts with the sides. And now you can clip it or pin it all around. When you have both pinned together all around, just a note, if you are using vinyl, obviously don't pin it, use the clips, but because I'm using waterproof canvas, I can pin it, and I think that's easier for me to sew because I don't have to remove the pins as I sew, so that's why I choose to use pins. When you have your outer and lining attached at the top seam together, take it to the machine and sew around the top with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 stitch length. Now that your top seam is completed, you're gonna turn the project right side out. You're just gonna pull the lining over the outer. And now you're gonna place the lining inside of your bag. You're gonna notice that the lining is shorter. That's what we wanted. We wanna fold the outer about an inch all around. So start with the sides. When you have the top edge folded like that, you can take it to the ironing board and you can iron it. If you are using waterproof canvas, just be very careful with your vinyl. Don't touch the vinyl with the iron. Iron it from the inside of the bag. And when you have it nicely creased, you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch all around the top edge with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch line. Now that our bag is top stitched all around, we can add our magnetic snap to the top of our bag to have the back closure. This is optional. If you want to add additional security, you can't. If you are fine with the handles being the closure of the bag, I think that's secure enough, but I'm just want to show you how I'm gonna install the magnetic snap. So first I'm gonna find the midpoint of my front panel. So I want to crease it. I'm gonna take my washer from my magnetic snap and I'm gonna mark the slits. Because it's just a single layer of waterproof canvas, I want to enforce the magnetic snap a little bit, so I'm gonna use a scrap of interfacing. Reach through my opening in the lining to make sure I'm just cutting only the inside part of the fabric. And because this is my front, I'm gonna use the male part of the snap. So now the male part of the snap is installed. I'm gonna fold my purse so it's in the closed position. Want to make sure that my top aligns nicely and press to find the perfect spot for my female part of the snap. And now I can test it. Looks nice and straight. So now that we have that part done, we can work on closing our lining. So what you want to do, you want to open the pocket of the back of the outer and pull the bottom of the lining through the opening in the pocket, and you're gonna clip it together. When you have that clipped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna continue the seam to close the opening in the bottom of your main lining. When that seam is completed, you're gonna insert it back through the pocket, push the lining inside of your bag, and now you have a lining inside of your bag without any seams. And now we're gonna close the opening in our pocket. So you're gonna pull the lining out, pull on the sides that should make the raw edges fold inside, and clip it together. When you have that prepped like this, take it to the machine and sew along this edge with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 2.5 or 3.5 stitch length. Make sure to backstitch well on the beginning and on the end of the seam. And now that the sewing part of the back is done, now we have to finish up our strap. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna create the handle. So we're gonna put the back on the side. You're gonna take your webbing cut to size for the strap and find the midpoint of the webbing. Mark it. So now to prep our handle, we're gonna finish up the shorter edges. You want to fold the shorter edges, but about 1/4 of an inch, wrong sides together. When you have that prep, take it to the machine and top stitch along those two shorter edges with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. After you have your sides top stitch, you're gonna take your webbing and making sure that your webbing is the wrong side up. If there is a wrong side on your webbing, you're gonna find the midpoint of your handle piece and align the handle halfway through the webbing, so about 1/2 inch from the top. When that's done, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew the handle on with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. And now that your handle strap is sewn in onto your webbing tape, you can refer to the pattern itself and just do what's been instructed there, or you can follow this instruction. So we're gonna instead of sewing the raw edge on, we're just gonna use a double-sided tape. And now I'm gonna place another strip of double-sided tape just below my top stitch line. take the handle, wrap the webbing tape around and place the folded part on top of the tape. Now that you have your handle prepped like this, you can secure the fold with stitching, so you can stitch it on, or you can secure it with rivets, or do both. I'm gonna attach 3 rivets. In the instructions you have 5 rivets, so just to embellish the handle. So you can do either, you can do 3. You just want to make sure that they are on the side and in the middle, or spread it according to the instructions provided in the pattern itself. So my handle is now ready. The next thing to do is to prep our bag. We need to install the grommets so we can thread our strap through them. So put the strap on the side for now. So first we're gonna mark our center. And then we're gonna measure 3 inches on each side. Take your grommets, make sure they fit nice. You wanna have about 1/4 of an inch space on the top from the outside rim of your grommet. And trace the opening. Now you can use shears, scissors to cut the opening in your bag, or you can use some dies. Just make sure that the hole you are cutting is a little smaller than the hole in a grommet itself. You don't want it to be bigger because you want the grommet to have the fabric to grab onto. Now that you have the holes cut and your grommets fit, you're gonna use the washers to install the grommets. Now that the first set of the grommets are installed, you're gonna repeat that on the back, but here you're gonna just use the installed grommets to transfer your openings. The grommets are now installed, they are aligning, so we did good. Now we're gonna install our strap. So you wanna take your strap, making sure that the handle is the right side up. You're gonna thread one end of the webbing tape through both grommets on one side, and the other end through the other pair of grommets. And this is how your bag gonna look like when you are carrying it on your back. So that's why I said that this is additional security, but really the bag will be held close by your strap as well. And now we wanna make sure that our webbing is not twisted. Everything looks good. Now we're gonna insert a sliding adjuster. Insert our swivel clasp hook side up and bring the end over to thread it underneath the sliding adjuster middle bar. Secure that with a clip. Repeat the same thing on the other strap, just making sure everything is nice and straight. Make sure that both straps are the same length. And now you can secure that with a stitch or with the rivets. I'm gonna install some rivets. Now your strap is completed. You can just clip the hooks on the D-rings and your bag is now ready to use. Your project is now completed. The Rose Convertible Backpack tote bag is ready to use. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that it's going to be helpful as a support to the written pattern. If you have the pattern already or if you are going to purchase a copy, please make sure to share your creation with me on social media. The links to my Instagram and Facebook group are in the description box below. Also, if you would like to be notified about more videos released on my channel, please consider subscribing. Till the next time.